Okay, we're over here at Wraparound Stage 1 at East Bay Media Center, talking with Alan Willis regarding some of Alan's early archival work that was done in the late 60s and early 70s. In particular, in this morning's San Francisco Date book, we've got an article here regarding 4 or 5 different major film productions in the works regarding the Black Panther Party. And what's coming up for discussion is a remarkable piece that Alan shot when he was with KQED for Newsroom on a news assignment, the remarkable Bobby Seale interview in prison. And this footage, as these 5 feature films are being developed, are of note to us because the footage that Willis has is creating interest in numerous circles. In addition, the Minority TV Project, and there also is the possibility that the Minority TV Project may have an interest in the Bobby Seale footage also, because this stuff, at best, Frank, you can bring that up if you want. This is casual, okay, but just don't stand in front of the camera. Thank you. All right. You're fabulous. The historical relevance of the Seale footage, Alan, is can't be denied, and as we embark on this, what we're interested in is getting the work out, but we're also interested in some of the historical background in terms of legal rights, of entitlement, how you went about with the newsroom doing it.
Well, I don't know anything about the legal rights of the film. It was a news assignment originally. I don't know who thought about it, probably Mel Wags, that someone should interview Bobby Seale in the San Francisco jail. I mean, that was at the time that Seale was waiting to be, to be sent back to, was it New York State, somewhere back east, to stand trial for the Rackley murder. The Panthers had been accused of having committed murder within the organization. And the details of that is, he talks about that in the film. So Francisco Newman was one of the interns at the young reporters that Mel Wags had gotten hold of, had hired, and he suggested that I and Newman and I should go down to the San Francisco jail and talk to Bobby Seale. That was easy because the fellow who was the sheriff at that time, what was his name? Hungisto was the sheriff at the time, and Hungisto had also been a reporter on Newsroom. So it was just a matter of going down there, knocking on the door, and going in to talk to Bobby Seale. And so we had a one long conversation with Seale. Originally we thought it was going to be a sort of a type of news type of interview where the certain questions would be asked about the Rackley murder and things like that. But they got involved, and Seale got involved in talking about his entire life, both as a Panther, as a cook, and
you have the famous recipes on this one, right?
And his recipes, and his mother, and how he was once a stand-up comic, and all that got involved in it. And even his sex life got involved in it because Newman asked him about that. And when it was shown over at that time, PBS, I mean, a lot of the stations were very upset by that.
Did it go national, PBS?
It was national. It was national.
One time.
One time it was shown nationally across the country. And yet it was just a news story. I mean, the interview was done by, as I said before, Francisco Newman. We came back, developed the film, came back and looked at it, and decided to almost run the whole thing in entirety. There's very little editing. Probably some superfluous stuff is thrown out.
Right.
And it's one continuous cine verite type of filmmaking it was. And except for the beginning and closing, which was shot elsewhere. And it caused the piece was reviewed across the country. It was reviewed in the San Francisco Chronicle.
What type of reviews did it get nationally and locally?
Well, it was reviewed in some of the underground papers in New York City. Got full-page interviews.
Like
Bobby
East
Seale,
Village Other and
East Village
like that?
Other says, "Is Bobby Seale sending a message? These recipes must be a message." A long essay on that. The jazz guy, columnist at the Chronicle at that time, Gleason, wrote an entire column on it. The man who is a present reporter who does special events at Channel 2, what is his name? The guy who goes around. He wrote an entire column on it in the San Francisco, not the San Francisco, but the Oakland Tribune. Oakland Trib, he was at that time at the Oakland Trib. He was a TV columnist at the Oakland Trib at that time. And so, it's not a polished piece, but it was typically a cine verite piece, and it was supposed to be a newsroom story. That's all it was. And most newsroom stories get lost and thrown away, but I happened to save that story from the final stuff that was thrown away. That's the reason why it exists today.
Well, let me draw your attention to... Go ahead.
Like I say, I offered it to the people who were making Berkeley in the 60s, but they didn't want any of it.
Okay.
I think it was the whole question of Bobby Seale changing his...
political ideology?
No, not his political ideology, but his whole persona.
Okay.
And they weren't concerned with that type of intimate piece that we shot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, with regards to your last lever, in terms of where Bobby's at today, he's back east, I believe.
Yeah, he's a temple.
And right, I recall that right after the quake, he came in and started doing some remarkable community organizing around the structure that was that collapsed and whatnot,
Yeah.
and was a proponent of not reconstructing the I forget the name of the dam. The Cypress
Freeway.
structure.
Yeah.
And I thought that his turnaround, the turnaround from more of a radical theoretician to more of a neighborhood organizer, which were some of the attributes of the Panthers back in the 60s. But watching Bobby work in that context of neighborhood development today seemed really refreshing. And but closer to the point that I would like to discuss with you now would be these 4 or 5 or 6 different projects regarding the Black Panthers.
Yeah, okay. I got a call from David Hilliard. I don't know whether people remember him, but Hilliard was once a national leader of the Panthers at the time that the leadership was in jail. That's Bobby Seale and
Minister
Hilliard.
of Information for a while, I thought, or
yes.
something, right?
And so I got a phone call from him recently, and he said that that he and Bobby Seale's brother wanted to do a story on the Panthers from the inside, because most of the stories about the Panthers are not, correct.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that the piece that was done by KQED by Telius didn't tell the real story. And he wanted to, in other words, they want to do their story.
Okay. Well,
then also Francisco Newman, who interviewed Seale at that time in the San Francisco jail, also called me up and said that there was a possibility of him getting money to redo the whole story of the Panthers from PBS.
mm-hmm.
And then I read in the paper that even Peoples, Melvin Van Peebles, planned to do probably a fictionalized story the Panthers.
Well, of interest also
Yeah.
is the producer of Eyes on the Prize,
Oh, yeah.
which your Other America piece on King for the last couple of years has been going back to back on PBS.
Yeah.
In fact, you've gotten the Brenda Payton review, which she felt
Yeah.
in the Oakland Tribune was a far more invigorating piece than Eyes on the Prize. Well, anyway, Hampton, who's the executive producer of that, is also planning another project with Warner Brothers regarding the Panthers and whatnot.
Well, I'd like to say something about that. I don't know. Of course, when you recreate something, you have to recreate it with the eyes of today. So it's not going to be in the 1960s that, I mean, you know, the world changes. And what the Panthers have has proven to me, and what, you know, Bobby Seale came back here after the earthquake and wanted to start some community activity, and that thing fizzled.
Right. That's true.
And the reason why it fizzled was not that they lacked energy or anything like that. It's that the mass movements of the 1960s cannot be created, you know, like by snapping a finger, or be created by even will.
Mm-hmm.
That movement has to exist. And the Panthers were a part of that movement. I mean, it came in as, I don't think they planned, there was any plan that somebody set somewhere and they planned they were going to become Panthers. I think that it was a part of that movement, and they got deeply and personally involved in the civil rights movement. They were part of the fact, I think, that the civil rights movement didn't completely succeed in ending poverty and things like that. And the remarkable thing about Seale, I think, and David Hilliard, is that they were people that were, you know, born in that West Oakland ghetto, and that they had experienced life there, and they, you know, going to Merritt College at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and they were swept up in the movement. And after their trip to Sacramento with guns, I mean, they became a national organization overnight, almost spontaneously. And I don't think it was any, because people don't like to hear this, that it was any great serious organization on their part.
Right.
I think the organization grew.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it grew in Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, New Orleans, Atlanta, Georgia, and so forth. People began to organize, you know, their own Panther groups. There was a great deal of independence in those groups. I don't think they were controlled from Oakland. I mean, that would be a myth to say that they were.
Well, in summary, your feelings then regarding the Bobby Seale piece that you did. Shall we make some overtures to Warner Brothers to
Yeah, I think it should
Van
do that.
Peebles and the like?
I think we should do that, but I just want to clear up one thing.
Sure.
Is that the story of the Panthers has to be told in the context of its history. That's what I was trying to conclude.
Gotcha.
And it cannot be told otherwise. And I think we should find out what other people are doing, and we should make an overture to them,
Right.
that we see what can come out of this. I mean, you can make the leadership of the Panthers bigger than life now. I mean, you can build them 10 feet tall.
That would be manipulative, though,
I
right?
think that would not be that would be a dramatic history if
Right.
you want to do
Right.
it that way.
Okay.
But if you want to do a sort of an insightful history of the Panthers, you have to look at them very much as ordinary people.
Mm-hmm.
That's really ordinary people caught up in their time.
And what a better way than to use historical footage
Historical footage.
to do it?
All the interviews and things that they said at that time. Some of that is still around, probably over at State. And we should look at all of that stuff, you know. And of course the Panthers also went through their own birth and death, through their own internal tensions and
Right.
everything else. And you know, was Eldridge Cleaver and you know Breakaway and all these other things. I understand they're going to make a film on, what's her name, the woman who took over after Huey Newton was put in jail. What's her name? I can't think.
I don't know.
No, she was a waitress and they talk about it in the paper here. I keep forgetting names. She made records and everything. They're going to do a story of somebody's going to make a film on her from a woman's point of view. It's on the first pages. It's from a woman's point of vue. Read that. Let me see where it is.
Oh, Suzanne DePass?
Yeah, well, that's right.
President of Gordy DePass Productions.
Yeah.
It's obvious that there are not only great stories, but there's a perception that black subject matter has a definite value. That black is now green.
Oh, yeah.
DePass is shepherding one of the Panther projects now in development, the only one that tells the stories from a woman's point of view.
Yeah.
She has bought the rights to the upcoming autobiography of her longtime friend Elaine Brown,
That's right, Elaine Brown.
who rose from a nightclub waitress to become a top Panther official and a near-miss candidate for the Oakland City Council. But other film projects will tell the Panther story through the eyes of fictional characters, not leaders such as Bobby Seale and Huey Newton. Joel Silver's production company at Warner Brothers is working with Henry Hampton of the acclaimed Eyes on the Prize on a project about a young black man who seeks life changes when he joins the Panther Party. And also Melvin Van Peebles, who came to fame for his provocative 71 film Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, is also writing a Black Panther project, probably with his son Mario co-directing and starring. The younger Van Peebles directed and starred in New Jack, whatever, City, and that had some success. Van Peebles, who knew some of the movement leaders, said that the fictional story he's currently working on will look at the whole era, including characters from the Peace and Freedom Party and Students for a Democratic Society. I want to dispel the myths surrounding the Panthers, Van Peebles adds. They were not anti-white, they were pro-black. Van Peebles' film will be produced by Robert De Niro's production company, Tribeca, which is allied with TriStar Productions. And also, lastly, Matty Rich, the young director who turned heads with his independently made Straight Outta Brooklyn, says he also hopes to write and direct a Panther movie, though it probably won't be his next project. Columbia Pictures has also hired Anna Hamilton Phelan, Mask and Gorillas in the Mist fame, to write a screenplay about revolutionary Johnny Spain, a protege of George Jackson. And so those are the projects on hand.
I don't know. I have a feeling that what they're talking about there, we still won't get the true story of the Panthers. There's a lot of stuff because I was personally around at that time, and I am aware of the confusion, the rhetoric. I mean, and all those things that existed. There was no great direction. There were ideas like breakfast for children at one time.
Yeah, a food program.
A food program that they invented. There was self-defense. There was community control of police ideas that were being projected.
Right.
At conventions, and there was the strange case of Eldridge Cleaver, the Panthers, which is very
and still remains to be a strange case.
and things like that. In other words, it has to be life, and I don't think in life, has everything neatly tied up. It never does. At all. Some of if you look at the old copies of the Black Panther newspaper, which drew cartoons of I can't think of the guy's name now. He as pigs.
Right.
Yeah, he worked as a window dresser, incidentally, in J. Magnums. These people are going to And he drew those cartoons, and he was a real, you know, and talking to him, he was a real gentle person. And you know, he appears in the film, you know, Stagger Lee. You know, the fellow, you see the shotgun, he comes up?
Yeah.
That's him. And he,
Ah,
now, you want to know, I set that up. I got a huge mirror, I glued it, found an old warehouse, and glued it to a very thick board, you know. And then it turned out that he had a shotgun, but he didn't have any shells for it, and I had to go out and buy the shells. This is the Panther. Didn't have any shells. And so we set the camera up and let him look at it, you know.
Right.
We got way back, you know, to
Right.
protect ourselves, and
Right.
he broke the glass. So,
Gotcha.
you know,
For the opening credits,
those
you mean,
early
right? Yeah,
credits,
right.
you know. And you know, I was sort of amazed that, you know, they were talking about, you know, Powell comes out of the barrel of the gun and all that stuff.
And being
like that.
militant.
Militant, and he didn't have any.
No shells.
No shells. So, but I understand he has been interviewed recently, and he's reconsidering his role in the Panthers at that time. I think people like he should be talked to, you know.
Well,
Or then Bobby Seale wrote this whole thing about, I don't know, some declaration that appeared in the paper that his lawyer had to, I don't know, I almost want to pull out of the paper, you know.
well, clearly, what our interest is,
Yeah.
is the property that you had the vision to shoot back,
Yeah.
when was that, 68,
I
69?
think it was about 60, no, it had to be before 68.
64, 5, something
It had to be
like
the time of the Moscow, not the Moscow, it had to be the time of the Chicago. Chicago, you know, when all those people were tried in Chicago?
that. 68. 67, 68.
68, yeah.
Okay,
Because Bobby Seale was tried there. By the
that's
way,
right, that's right.
Bobby Seale, and including the guy who's now a Simlin, what's his name, married the movie star.
Bates.
Huh?
Bates.
Not Bates.
No, Hayden.
Hayden.
Oh,
Hayden.
Fonda, Hayden.
Hayden was on trial.
That's right, that's
Hayden
right.
was on trial there. Hayden.
Well,
Maybe,
the whole-
maybe it's a good idea to talk to Hayden about Hayden and the Panthers and his relationship with the
Well,
Panthers.
clearly, Alan, I just want to get back on track. The unfortunately, Media Center will not be producing one of those five
Yeah.
35 to 110 million dollar films on the Panthers.
Oh.
Our main interest, again, zeroing in, is the remarkable footage that you had the vision to shoot back in
Yeah.
'67,
Yeah.
and how we could either provide to the more politically correct of the 5 to 7 to a dozen projects, and we've always heard over the years, you know, murmurs and rumors of all of these projects on the Panthers.
Yeah.
And finally, I think, you know, seeing this in the Chronicle this morning has prompted us into the inquiry of the Bobby Seale footage,
Yeah.
which we, if you recall, a couple of years ago, we had your 16 neg transferred to S because of the remarkable quality of it.
Yeah, that's right.
And so rather than provide the footage as narrative and to help people like Oliver Stone become more politically correct, it would be nice to see the footage on the big screen rather than it being used to guide these directors and producers into their,
Yeah.
you know, into their representation of the Panthers, and also to see if you know, some of those remarkable comments by him could be cut in, basically. And
Yeah, that's right.
and our interest primarily also prompted the inquiry by Spencer Moon on 32, and this was in response this morning to that, and then coincidentally seeing it in the Chronicle this morning as we're discussing the piece means that something's happening.
Yeah,
Okay,
something's
I mean, it's synchronistic.
Look, I'm going to ask you a question here now.
Please.
Is it possible to get somebody to go out of state and look through? I would go out there too and see if we can get hold of some of that footage. We can get. By the way, the footage
Yes.
is open to the public.
Yes.
There's the unfinished stuff I remember on the Panthers that we sent out there. was how they sent out the paper and mailed the paper.
Yeah. Okay.
And I spent the whole, I spent the
What
whole
would you prefer?
evening with.
Like a researcher to go out there
Yeah,
with you?
research to go out there
Okay.
and see what we can find.
You got it.
And the whole evening of putting out that paper and how they put it out and how it was put together, all of that stuff must be around there somewhere.
So that's been rescued and
I
is
think
archived.
it's over there. I think
Okay.
it's over at stake. I think,
You look at your calendar.
yeah.
I just want as we complete this, let's call it the warm up
Okay.
wraparound
Okay.
for 32, and I really enjoyed doing this. And
Okay.
this should give us
okay.
some inspiration to really do it
Mhm.
for 32 and the piece on you more
Okay, all right.
importantly. You know. Also, I just want you to know that in August we do need to get going on Carla.
Yeah, okay,
We want that sucker done by about mid-August
okay.
or late August.
okay.
But in the interim, let's talk about it, and we can call this a wrap anytime. This is
Okay,
just
this is just a wrap here, but
okay.
I was thinking about trying to get some of those people who were on the spot
Keep
at
it
the
rolling,
time,
Paul.
like Mel Wags. Let's get him down
Yes,
there.
yes.
I mean, I run into him occasionally downtown.
Cool, cool.
Let him talk about that whole thing because he was in the middle of it.
Okay.
I mean, he was the one who was running the newsroom at that time. It was very,
Right on.
and he must have interviewed Huey Newton half a dozen times himself.
Okay. Over and out.
Okay.